So if you want to hear any lore, and I mean any lore whatsoever, consider checking out the Patreon, because from the $1 tier to the $10 tier, your voice is heard when every week I put a poll in the Patreon for the Patreon members that you can vote on what you want the next week's lore to be. And by way of Patreon, this week's lore, I bring to you the Mechanist from Fallout 3, and by extension Fallout 4 a little bit. Now, I get all of my lore off of fallout.fandom.com, the Nukipedia, if you will. And there's something I want to read directly off the wiki just to get us started. It's kind of an introduction to who the Mechanist is. If you don't already know, Fallout has its own universe of superheroes called the Unstoppables, kind of like the Avengers, comprised of the Silver Shroud and the Mistress of Mystery, Man-to-Man, Grognak the Barbarian. I feel like I might be missing one other person. And one of the biggest ways that we get to see who the Mechanist is, just from a gameplay standpoint, just from a way to say, okay, hey, this is going on, is through Kent Connolly's Silver Shroud radio broadcast, where we get to hear a little bit about a Silver Shroud adventure, and the big bad at the end of it being the Mechanist. So this summarization on the Fallout Wiki, I feel like, says it perfectly. The fictional mayor of Boston in the 2070s is a man by the name of Mayor Murphy. In the Silver Shroud radio series, the mayor of Boston believes that humanity was weak and should be replaced by his own army of robots, subsequently styling himself as the Mechanist. Included in his army were a mobster Fat Fahey and a group of mob bots, wishing to take down the crime fighter, the Silver Shroud. Mayor Murphy created a robot version of himself and set the robot to meet with Fat Fahey and die, in order to lure the Silver Shroud and the Mistress of Mystery. The two investigated the mayor's death. They discovered that he and his accomplices were robots serving the Mechanist. When they arrived at the Mechanist's lair, within a warehouse, he successfully captured both, with plans to kill the Silver Shroud and the Mistress of Mystery. However, the two crime fighters were freed by one of the Mechanist's own creations, a mob bot that had gained its own sentience, and with it a hatred of its creator. The group fought and destroyed the Mechanist's own robot army. In a last-ditch effort, the Mechanist attempted to kill the Silver Shroud with the Silver Shroud's own silver submachine gun. However, the Silver Shroud deflected the bullets, resulting as the bullets bouncing off of him and hitting the Mechanist, fatally wounding him. As he died, the Silver Shroud unmasked him, revealing the identity of Mayor Murphy. So you have this character. You have this fictionalized character. You have a person who is fictitious that people have latched on to 200 years later. I don't like the Marvel movies, but I understand why they're culturally relevant. I understand why people gravitate to them. I understand why people want to see the good guys win every single week. Because I understand what makes the bad guys cooler. Like, Mr. Freeze is one of my favorite bad guys of all time, because he's just a guy who's like, I miss my wife, Batman, my wife. And he's just, especially if you're going from like Batman animated series onward, not like the original stuff. Not that it's bad, it's just that's when he gets fantastic. Mr. Freeze is just, I'm sad. And I want someone to feel the hurt that I feel. I want my wife back. And the Mechanist is someone that people have latched on to because of their love of fiction, because of them finding these old comic books and reading about the Mechanist and discovering who these characters were for other people in a past world. That brings us to Scott Bean Walensky, a man in Canterbury Commons who controls robots and fights against his arch nemesis, the Antagonizer, who the Antagonizer is actually an antagonist from the Grognak the Barbarian comics. All while in the ironclad one-to-one suit of the Mechanist, the armor from the bad guy in the Unstoppable series, and the heroes from the Unstoppables. Now, Scott's parents were humble little bean farmers, that they grew beans and sold them to various traders to make a living in the post-apocalypse. At the age of 15, Scott's dad sold him to caravanners in hope that he would have a better life. So imagine hitting 15, really knowing how to, grow beans and reading comic books all day, and all of a sudden your dad goes, "Hey kid, time to ship up and shape out," or whatever. Shape up and ship out. We sold you for beans. You're now the bean boy, because we've sold you for beans. And they sold him for beans, and he was a slave to the caravanners. He got the nickname Bean because of it, because he was traded for the beans, and he would later go on to buy his freedom and settle down in Canterbury Commons. He becomes free as a man. When you meet him in the game, he is 40. So there's something I really want to point out. If you've done the Superhuman Gambit questline, you might know that the Antagonizer and the Mechanist are at odds with each other. And the Mechanist, being the good guy in this somehow, even though he's modeled after a bad guy, he wants to protect Canterbury Commons. This is a 40-year-old man who is cosplaying as a 200-year-old, probably older, character. But there is also the Antagonizer, a 27-year-old woman who's one of the only psychers in modern Fallout. So she's crazy. And she's dressed up as an ant and can control ants with her psychic abilities. And they are fighting with each other. And when you meet them, when you first happen upon them in Canterbury Commons, you really get a sense of just like a genuine, like, two people having a good time. Like, you can tell that they, like, even the people in town are like, "Oh my god, Scott's at it again." And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's the Antagonizer. Like, we're a society of people, and this is what we deal with, dog." Like, just, I appreciate, like, the whole, it's kind of what I imagine having a kid is, who's really into anime and gets dressed up for the anime con, and you're trying to be a supportive parent, and you're like, "Yeah, Inuyasha, that sounds like fun. You're like a cat and a wolf? Who's Kagome?" I love this questline. I love these characters. So some of the things that can affect the Lone Wanderer after dealing with the Antagonizer or the Mechanist is that he will attack the Lone Wanderer if he finds out he has worked with the Antagonizer or even suspects it. You can keep both of their suits of armor. You can get both of their weapons. There's a YouTuber that I used to love back in the day, like 2008, 2009, 2010, when I was playing Fallout 3, like when it first came out. I think his name was Orca Pro or Orca Pro. I found his stuff once. Like, there's an episode with me and the previous host where I talk about finding this dude's videos. I'd love to have a conversation with him too, because I feel like I've watched all of his Fallout stuff. But I remember watching his video on how to keep both of the rewards from this. He's not even allied with the robots in his repair shop, so if they fight him, they'll kill him. If you convince him to retire, he'll just walk away, and he can just, you can follow him, and if you follow him, he goes directly to the Antagonizer's back door. If you try to talk to him, he just says he wants to be left alone. Accidental depression mode. Love it. Female characters with the Black Widow perk can choose an additional dialogue option to acquire the Mechanist's costume peacefully. Male characters can use the Child at Heart perk, which convinces him to give up his position as a superhero. If you wear the Antagonizer costume around him, he will attack. So that's pretty much everything I have on the Mechanist from Fallout 3. But if you've played Fallout 4, you might know that there was the Automatons DLC, which added the Mechanist from Fallout 3's concept into Fallout 4. So I want to read a little bit about that. Now, Isabella Cruz, not really a ton is about her, but I want to read her bio quick that's on the Fallout Wiki. From Fallout Shelter Online, because it doesn't make sense, but that's probably because it's translated poorly, but also there's just a wild statement on there that I didn't know was a thing in the Fallout universe. I mean, it makes sense, but like I just didn't know it was like a thing. So in the Fallout Shelter Online biography, it says, before calling herself the Mechanist, she was just an ordinary girl who talked to robots on the autism spectrum. When everything turned into nuclear dust, she selflessly sent her robots to rescue survivors on the wasteland. Soon, this group of robots came to a rational conclusion. Death is the best relief for humans in the wasteland. It seems that the Mechanist had to provide after-sale services to prevent this group of dedicated robots from reliving humans of their past. So, she's autistic, at least in the Chinese canon, I didn't think that would ever be something that would be brought up in a Fallout game, but hey, this is where we are now. So Isabella Cruz, the autistic machine woman from Fallout Shelter Online and Fallout 4, was inspired by the comic book she read as a child to become the Mechanist and wanted to make the Commonwealth a safer, better place, and made robots that would defend other people and clear out raider camps. Because of an error in the logic loop of her robo-brains, the robots would attack any kind of human, and this made a blanket call for help in the wasteland. That's really all I have on her. The thing about the Automaton DLC is that it's kind of lacking in the sense that you don't really get a story. You just kind of, you get a small one, and it's a lot of just go here, go there, go here, go there. Now you're in her lair, you can use her stuff. The big thing is that you get to mess with making robots like Cogsworth. My Cogsworth in my game is an Assaultron, or not an Assaultron. He's a complete sentry bot, and he shoots like mini nukes and has a skull for a face. That's really cool. The fact that I can just take any robot and turn him into a death machine, and I can just have a robot companion that's just pretty much just a Brahmin, like a mechanical Brahmin to carry stuff. I like that. I don't remember how much it was because I did buy the season pass, but still. Isabella Cruz as the Mechanist has unique dialogue if the sole survivor is wearing the Silver Shroud costume during the final confrontation. This can be combined with the holotape access method to gain access to more unique dialogue. If the sole survivor decides to let her live, she will remain at the lair, but she does not count as a settler and does not require any resources, and she can't be moved to another settlement. I remember in mine, I didn't really ever use the workshop, but I have her there. She also shares a bunch of the same traits as Scott Bean Walensky. They both have a skill with robots and sought out to make the wasteland safer, but actually cause more harm than good. They can both be spared and realize their outcomes of their actions and seek out to heal what damages they caused, and they have hidden bases seemingly in normal locations. That's pretty much it. I just thought it was wild that Fallout Shelter Online said that she was autistic, making that like a canon thing, I guess. This is not a thing that I think about when I think about Fallout characters, is their disabilities. I'm not even sure if autism is considered disability. If it is, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that offensively. It's a character that's really cool. It's a character that flashes out the world. It's a character that makes another universe inside of a universe that's already great. But that is all I have for you on this week's Lore. Hey, wasn't that clip great? Wasn't that a whole lot of fun? If you like that, consider listening to the whole podcast of Atomic Radio Hour. We do Fallout lore, but we also do a ton of other fun stuff. On screen right now are a couple of names that I have to thank. These fine folks are part of our Patreon. From the $1 tier to the $10 tier every single week, your voice is heard when I ask a poll concerning the lore. And also at the $10 tier, you can watch the podcast episodes get recorded live. I want to thank these fine folks. I love you, each and every one of you. Thanks for checking us out. Stay tuned for a recommendation for what I think you should watch or YouTube thinks you should watch. And also, subscribe to my channel. Throw it a like. Give it a comment. See you guys soon. Love you.